We turn to the dramatic capture south of the border tonight. One of the sons of El Chapo, ABC's Matt Rivers, in Mexico City for us.
The notorious son of the now jailed drug lord El Chapo under arrest once again tonight.
Están cargando el avión de la Fuerza Aérea que acaba de llegar.
Le están tirando al avión que cayó.
Le están tirando al avión, le están...
El Chapo's son, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, reportedly arrested amid violence in Sinaloa. Reports are circulating that El Chapo's son, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, was arrested amidst violence in Sinaloa, Mexico. With the Mexican government sending military forces to the area, the fate of Guzman Lopez remains uncertain. Will he be able to escape the clutches of the government, or will he face his father's fate and be sent to jail? It's clear that El Chapo's legacy looms over this situation, and the outcome could have far-reaching implications. Only time will tell what will happen to Ovidio Guzman Lopez and the impact it'll have on the future of Sinaloa. But what was the whole situation and scenario there? Let's talk about it. Ovidio Guzman, the son of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman and a commander in the Sinaloa cartel, was taken into custody by the Mexican security forces on Thursday, January 5th, 2023. During an operation that took place during the early hours of the morning in Yasmara, in the city of Culiacan, the Defense Secretary, Cedena, once again arrested the drug trafficker after the failure of October 2019, when the authorities detained him and released him to the police. Few hours to stop the escalation of violence they received in response. Anarchy spread over Sinaloa once more after the arrest, just as it did on that previous chaotic Thursday. The drug trafficker employed every ounce of his strength in an effort to bring the military forces under his control, and he laid siege to several regions of the state by erecting roadblocks and opening fire. The people were warned not to leave their homes by the authorities. Courses and other activities were canceled, and the airport was shut down. Members of the gang blocked roads, torched cars, and attacked the nearby airport in a fit of rage. 2 airplanes were shot at, one of them just as takeoff was about to begin. Over 100 flights were canceled at 3 airports in Sinaloa. The governor of the state had stated that 18 individuals had been sent to the hospital. Defense Minister Luis Crescencio Sandoval said that Mr. Guzman Lopez, also known as the Mouse, was in charge of a group under his father's infamous Sinaloa cartel. To put it simply, it is a major international drug trafficking organization.
Esta detención representa un golpe contundente a la cúpula del poder del cártel del Pacífico.
Throughout a press conference, Mexican Defense Secretary Luis Crescencio Sandoval called the Sinaloa cartel the Pacific Cartel and said that only after 6 months of reconnaissance and surveillance activity in the area of control of this criminal group had they been able to achieve this. Official sources acknowledged to El Pas that the United States and Mexico shared intelligence in advance of the operation to capture Guzman. Authorities flew Ovidio Guzman to Mexico City, where he was brought before the specialized prosecutor for organized crime. The Mexican government security forces had previously detained Guzman Lopez in 2019, but they decided to let him go in order to prevent the risk of violence from his supporters. At that time, his capture caused a lot of people to speculate about what would happen after that. Would the arrest of El Chapo's son be the final straw that broke the camel's back for the Sinaloa cartel and put an end to their reign of terror? The Mexican government had been making a concerted effort to put a stop to the activities of the Sinaloa cartel, and the arrest of Ovidio Guzman Lopez was a part of the effort. However, given that El Chapo was already in prison, many people questioned whether or not this would be sufficient to finally bring an end to the cartel's authority. And since September 2019, the United States government has demanded that Guzman be extradited to the United States to face allegations of drug trafficking. However, the authorities have not reported whether or not Guzman will be extradited to the United States. The Mexican Foreign Minister, Marcelo Ebrard, is the only one who has stated that there would be no rapid extradition and that a judicial process is to be anticipated in Mexico. On the part of the administration of the United States, there have been virtually no comments. A representative for the Department of State simply stated that they were closely monitoring the situation about the violence that broke out in Sinaloa. It took 3 years for the Mexican government to apprehend the son of El Chapo, who is one of the heirs to the drug trafficking empire left behind by his father and who is currently imprisoned in the United States. The decision to release him in 2019 after his arrest, which was ordered by President Lopez Obrador to, as he has repeated, avoid a massacre, has been one of the most criticized moments of the 6-year term of a president who has made the banner of the hugs policy rather than the no bullets policy against criminals. The decision was ordered by President Lopez Obrador. Nevertheless, after 3 years have passed, the bullets have once again marked a gloomy Thursday in Sinaloa. The arrest of Guzman, also known as El Raton, who is 32 years old, takes place just a few days after the arrival in Mexico of the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, who is scheduled to hold a summit on Monday in the capital city of Mexico.
Next week, I'm going to travel to Mexico, where I'm going to meet with President Lopez Obrador. We have a big agenda that ranges from the climate crisis to economic development and other issues. But one important part of that agenda is strengthening our border between our nations.
During the same week that President Biden's team was observed planning every element of the president's security during his visit, the operation's primary focus is on the problem of violence that is currently occurring throughout Mexico. The Mexican government has been adamant that the National Guard, the new police force that was established throughout the course of the 6-year tenure, was the organization that was responsible for carrying out the operation to apprehend Guzman. As Sandoval told it, the local security force had no choice but to respond immediately to the armed assault launched by the criminal group. As a result of the arrest, an unthinkable cycle of violence was set off in Sinaloa, which resulted in around 20 drug blockades, as confirmed by the authorities. However, as the early afternoon progressed, there was no public information on the arrest of any other suspects, with the exception of Guzman. The governor has revealed that at least 18 individuals, including both unarmed civilians and law enforcement officers, were hurt in the incident. Ovidio is one of El Chapo's sons. He, along with his brothers, Ivan Archivaldo and Jesus Alfredo, are members of the Sinaloa cartel faction known as Los Chapitos, or the Miners. Since the morning of Jesus Maria, the federal armed forces have been conducting an operation in the Union, and Sinaloa's governor, the Morenista Ruben Rocamoya, has advised people to be calm and reported receiving word of this from the federal Secretary of the Interior, Adán Augusto López. He also tweeted that this had led to some violent situations in the state capital and elsewhere. To quote again, "I urge the people to be calm and to take precautions until the measures are concluded." Cristobal Castelleda, the Secretary of State Security, was one of the earliest official sources to report on the blockades and urge citizens to remain indoors. Around 8 in the morning, he tweeted, "Vehicle debris and blockades are being presented in several sections of the city. We ask the public not to get out. We are acting accordingly." Castelleda reported at noon that there were still blockades in the state, 9 in Culiacan, 3 in Los Mochis, north of the capital, and 6 in the southern region of Sinaloa. He asked the public to stay off the streets in a video, saying the government officials continue to work to regulate the situation. An attempted breakout from Culiacan prison, he claims, was foiled. Due to the event, strict security measures have been implemented. Nayarit, a state whose northern border is shared with Sinaloa, has taken measures to secure its frontiers in the face of growing deployments of violence in the neighboring state. Meanwhile, the U.S. Embassy in Mexico sent a telegram to the American people, alerting them of the developing scenario. Culiacan, Los Mochis, and Guasave are just some of the cities in the state where gunfire has reportedly been reported. Keep an eye on the headlines. Consulate staff would like to advise you that the State Department has designated Sinaloa as a Category 4 Do Not Travel Zone. According to the U.S. Department of State, Ovidio and his brother Joaquin are in charge of around 11 methamphetamine labs in the state of Sinaloa, where they are responsible for the monthly production of between 1,300 and 2,200 kilograms, or about 3,000 to 5,000 pounds. The fate of Ovidio Guzman Lopez remains uncertain, as authorities are in the midst of an investigation into his reported arrest. As the situation continues to unfold, the people of Sinaloa are left waiting to see what will become of El Chapo's son. Will he be released, or will justice be served?